Well, welcome to the Herb Lyceum at Gilson's, and we're here in the greenhouse, and we're going to talk about rosemaries. Rosemary is probably one of the three top plants that people want to buy all the time. And the biggest question we get at farmers markets is, I love rosemary. It does great during the summer, does well in the fall, and then it doesn't do so well in the winter, especially around February, March, it starts to die off. So a couple of things on rosemary. There are two major groups of rosemary. This is an upright rosemary, and this is a creeping rosemary, or rosemary prostrata. And I've set them up this way just to show in your homes in a nice sunny location, and anytime we grow herbs, we want to replicate where they're indigenous to, or where they come from. Rosemary comes from the high rocky terrains of Italy and France, all over the Mediterranean. So we want to replicate that same environment if we're going to have success with them, even inside our homes. So they want full sun, good air exchange, and you'll do fine. Let's focus on the upright. We put a little stone in the bottom, put our soil in. And again, don't take soil out of the garden. It'll have a lot of pathogens and insects and all other kinds of problems. So get a nice sterile mix from a garden center. Now, one of the things that is helpful to know about transplanting a rosemary, if it's a tender perennial, it will die in the wintertime. It won't make it. There are some times that you can have these little microclimates or areas of your yard, or if you're down the Cape, on occasion you can make it through if it's not too bad a winter. But for the most part, it has to be brought in. So you don't want to plant your rosemary in the ground and then transplant it and bring it in. If you put it in the container, even though you're going to put it outside this summer, keep it in the container that you're going to bring it in. That way there's no transplant shock. And just quickly on, while we've got it out, and you can see all these little hair-like roots. These are the roots that are most important. Whether you're transplanting any plant, whether it's a shrub or a tree, it's these little hair-like roots that are on the outside, what we call the drip edge. These are the ones that are feeding the plant, and they're also getting the water for the plant. They're hydrating the plant. So it's very important if you transplant a plant and you've cut some of these valuable roots, you want to cut back the top about a third. But if you plant your rosemary plant in the container it's going to be, you don't have to worry about the transplant shock. In the wintertime, the day length is short. The plant hibernates, it slows down. Even though we bring it in and it's warm, the length of day is very short. Shortest day, the winter solstice, December 21st, the plant really shuts down. Again, it hibernates. And for us to ask that it grow faster, it won't as long as the day length is short. No matter how warm it is or how much water we give it, it's not going to make it grow anymore. Only the lengthening of the day will start to make it grow more. Where we get into trouble with our rosemaries in the wintertime is we overwater. We kill it with kindness. And when we water the plant, and our houses are very dry in the wintertime. So the top of the soil dries out. We feel the top of the soil. We say, oh, the plant's awfully dry. I better water it. And what happens is the root ball ends up sopping wet. And this plant is we call this, it's in homeostasis. The amount of root and the amount of top is balanced. It's homeostatic. And if we compromise the root in any way, the top wants to die back to bring itself back into balance. So when we overwater in the wintertime and the roots are getting sopping wet, then all these roots die. And if the roots die, then the top has to die so it regains balance. Now that we've overwatered it, the top starts to die. We say something's wrong. We feel the top of the plant say, oh, it's dry, it needs more water. We just keep killing it further and faster by overwatering it. So it's very important, all root systems, and it's not just the top roots, it's all the way throughout the whole root ball, needs equal amounts of air and water, both. So the way to to accommodate that is to make sure when you water it all the way to the bottom of the pot. So what we'll do once this is planted, whether it be in the summer or whether it be in the winter, I'll water it all the way through till it comes out the bottom. Usually I water this in the sink, and once it's drained, I water it at night, take it out in the morning. It's all drained, so I don't have to worry about where the water is going to end up. And then I'll put it back in the full sun. Now this plant is telling us right now, if you can see, there are two things to tell you when it's dry to the bottom of the root ball. When you see the plant wilt like that, see how it's bending over? That's one indication. The second indication is when you see the soil pull away from the pot. If the soil hasn't pulled away from the pot, you don't see this, even though it's dry on top, don't water. Wait till you see one of these signs, then soak it all the way through. So in the short days, in the wintertime, you might only water it once a week. And in the summertime, when the day length is long and it's warm and it's growing actively, you might have to water it every day. So the plant will tell you when to water. People say, well, how often should I water it? It's when the plant tells you. So again, if you see it the tips start to turn that way or it pulls away from the side, then soak it right down.